Travis, it's all yours for now.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. My name is Travis Pendleton, and I'm going to open up the meeting for you all, and then pretty soon I'll pass to Uday. This is our third online public meeting for the Go KC Sidewalks program. It's the third meeting this month. As Uday mentioned earlier, it's being recorded, and we're really glad that you're here today. I know some people will trickle in, so hopefully this introduction time will give everyone some time to get situated. If you are joining today, please mute yourself. Your mute button's at the top of the screen. There's a little microphone button. You can just click that, and that will allow you to mute. Your main presenters today are going to be Uday Manapelli. Uday is the one who said the meeting was going to be recorded. Uday manages sidewalks for Kansas City, Missouri Public Works, and you'll hear from him soon. Maggie Green is the media relations manager for Kansas City, Missouri. Maggie got called away today, and so you won't hear from her. John Zimmerman is also here. John is going to be presenting to you as well. He is with Transystem, so he is doing the project management for sidewalks from the consultant side, representing Transsystems. And then I'm Travis Pendleton, assisting John and Uday on the project. Virio's role is to do public engagement. So you see us at a lot of meetings, and then we're also assisting with some of the sidewalk inspection work. And John will talk about that in a little bit. If we go to the next slide, what you will see are just some meeting details. I know for a lot of us, this is not our very first online public meeting. We have been at this since the pandemic started, so it's March now. It's been 2 years. But we still ask you all to remember to mute. And again, your mute button's at the top of the screen. And as new people come in, if they're not muted, you might hear us saying that. The meeting is being recorded. We want to hear from you. We want to be able to hear your voice. We also want you to be able to use the chat. So a lot of the comments for meetings like this come in the chat box. The chat box is available at the top of your screen. It's a little thought bubble with lines in it. You can click that and you can type your response. I know that a lot of these meetings have people that are calling in on their phone, and I think we have a couple people doing that today. If you're on your phone, you'll have to *6 to mute and unmute. And then when you have a question, let us know and we'll ask you to go ahead and share that. One of the things is we have Q&A at the end of the meeting. So even if you're on the phone or if you're in the meeting virtually with us today, please hold your questions and we'll do all the muting and unmuting at the end of the meeting. Today's meeting is a quick one. It's about an hour. If you have any questions after the meeting, Maggie and Uday's email addresses are on screen. And a lot of what happens in our meetings for sidewalks is we put Uday's email in the chat box a lot so that you all can reach him when you need to. We'll go to the next slide, which should go over our meeting agenda today. We've already gone through the welcome, but really what we want to do with you all is share the background of the Go KC Sidewalks program, and then we want to give you an update. The last time that we talked about Go KC Sidewalks in a really big way was in 2019. Over the course of that period of time, we've had over 50 meetings talking with people all over the city about sidewalks. And so we want to catch you up with that, give you the update, talk to you about what we've heard through our conversations, just give you a snapshot of what we've heard. And then we want to get into the comprehensive sidewalk program, talk about next steps, and also outline for you one of the city's new initiatives related to transportation safety, which is Vision Zero. Then we'll take questions with the Q&A. With that, I will turn it over to Uday.
Thank you, Travis, and
welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining this evening. A wonderful day outside. To just give you a background, the residents have voted in 2017 to allocate 150 million dedicated to sidewalk. The goal was to remove the assessment speeds of the sidewalks, but also improve the repairs and improve the sidewalk walkability throughout the city. So when that 20-year program translates to 7.5 million per year, it's 150 by 20, 7.5, and that is broadly classified into two programs. One is our ADA, American Disability Association program, and the other one is the sidewalk program, which is the 5 million. We have a lot of corners at the intersections which are not accessible. So the program, the 2.5 million, focuses on accessibility of these corners around the intersections. So we are focusing on that. We have a settlement with Department of Justice, and we have a long list of corners that need to be repaired. So if you find some intersection where it is not accessible to go through to access the sidewalk, please reach out to me. We will add it to the list and we'll fix it. The second piece, which the focus of today's meeting, is the sidewalk program itself. So when we started with the sidewalk program, our initial direction was to look at the 311s, which were reported between 2008 and 2016, and try to do spot repairs. We looked at them and we are working towards finishing them. So we started in 2018, the construction, and we plan by 2025 that will be resolved. The other thing, when we started our program, the GeoBond program, we never had an inventory and the condition of our sidewalks throughout the city. We had an estimate that there are around 4,000 miles of sidewalk in the city, but we don't know where they are, how they are, what needs to be done. So the city took an initiative of looking into all these sidewalks and then identifying what condition they are. So we are still working through it. John will talk a little bit more about it. There are a couple of initiatives which we'll talk a little later, and there's a PIAC match one. So the two initiatives which I mentioned are, we started two pilot programs. What we inferred is, one of them, we can't replace sidewalk everywhere. If there is an issue like this you are seeing on the screen, the sidewalk looks good, there is a tripping hazard. So we were looking at different techniques and looking around United States and our sister cities around Kansas City. We found that there are other techniques which you can use. It is just like the one we are seeing here. The idea is to remove the tripping hazard, and it is like 8 times more cost effective compared to replacing the sidewalk. So we had good results. We tried it in one neighborhood south of Gregory Boulevard. We were able to remove and address 500 tripping hazards. And the other issue we have, this is throughout the city. Wherever you see, we have huge trees between the sidewalk and the curb. And most of the reason why some of the sidewalks are uplifted or heaved, because the tree roots buckle the sidewalks. Previously, we had only two solutions: either go around the trees, and some cases which is not possible. The other solution we had was to remove the trees. Which is not environmental friendly, and some of the trees are really healthy, like the one you're seeing on the picture. So we partnered with University of Missouri, Kansas City, the company called Rubberway. That's the one they have the material with, and Gunter Construction. And we poured this rubberized sidewalk. What it does, it allows the permeability and allows the trees to breathe, but also it maintains the sidewalk so that people can access over it. So we tried it. It has been proven in the last 20 years at different locations in the United States. Our temperatures are different. We have at least 10 to 12 freeze thaw cycles. So we wanted to make sure we put the test section and study it for a year with the help of UMKC and see if we can use this approach throughout the city. So we are still working on the results. And once we have it, maybe we will extensively use it throughout the city. So that's another pilot program. And I'll let John speak over the systemic sidewalk inspection program here.
Thank you, Uday. As Uday said, with the passage of the GEO bond, the city became responsible for 4,000 miles of sidewalk. And to put that in perspective, that's enough sidewalk to connect Kansas City to the Panama Canal. So it's a large system, and they needed to inventory it and review the condition of the system to understand how to best manage it. The GEO bond required a systematic sidewalk inspection program, and that was to improve the equity of the program by using data to provide the prioritization of the inspection. And the city worked with residents and community leaders to develop a list of characteristics to identify the most important sidewalks. And the priority characteristics for the inventory were identified and included things like proximity to schools, transit, grocery stores, and other similar locations. But the real key to the system is the relative weighting of each of these. That process required careful consideration by the stakeholders and the residents, and really brought the importance to the program. And for instance, a sidewalk that is near a community center will provide access to social and health programs for pedestrians and people who use wheelchairs and other mobility devices. And that was given a factor of 8 points, which was one of the highest factors given out. Sidewalks, say in a densely populated area, were also considered important, but less than the community center access. So it got a high factor of 5, still not an 8, but it got a factor of 5. And all of these individual characteristics and their weighting were assembled into the city's GIS database to determine the priority of each sidewalk segment. The sidewalks were then grouped into 5 priority levels, with 1 as the highest level. And this map and the rating system are on the city's webpage. And when I finish, I'll put a link to that in the chat. Next slide, please. To complete the reviews of the sidewalk, the city hired 3 consultant teams and split the city into 3 sections. And each of these teams are tasked with reviewing the sidewalk ramps, the sidewalks, the curbs, and other items related to the sidewalks based on these 5 priority levels. The city encouraged use of innovations to enhance the data collection and to reduce the cost of it. Some of the field reviews have been completed in the traditional manner, with reviewers walking the sidewalks and noting the repair issues. My team actually used a Segway, which is shown in this picture here, and it has devices on it that as it rides down the sidewalk, it records bumps, cracks, and other items. Another team used a truck-mounted scanner to pick up a 3D model of the sidewalk, and the other team used a drone-mounted scanner. So each of these scanned the sidewalk and took that information back to the office, where the technicians in the office would identify the repair needs. Regardless of how the data was collected, all of it was finalized into a consistent format for the city's GIS. And quality control was really important, with so many reviewers and so many teams involved. The city required a formal quality control check after the first 25 miles of each team's review. And then again, when the final documentation or data was submitted to the city, again, there was more spot checks from the city to make sure that it was a consistent rating between all of the teams and between all of the methods. Next slide, please. And the goal of the field reviews was to determine where the sidewalk was out of repair. The sidewalks identified were, or the review identified where sidewalks had surface cracks of a 1/4 inch or more, and displacement was documented for tripping hazards and obstacles. So anything from a 1/4 inch or more was identified, especially when it's up around an inch or more, then it becomes really a barrier for just about anyone to walk on. So those were important to note. Sidewalks with spalling or rough surfaces were also documented, and many other items were documented, such as ponding, unapproved materials, driveways, retaining walls, landscaping that either had damaged the sidewalk or were overhanging the sidewalk, and other ancillary data. So it was a very comprehensive review. Then the sidewalk ramps were reviewed for the same criteria as the sidewalks, with a few additional items such as ADA detectable warnings, whether those were present or not, whether there was a ramp present or not in the curb return, and if there were utilities within the ramp itself. Street curbs were reviewed for condition and ponding. And then all the trees within a few feet of the sidewalk were identified and documented, especially those that obstructed or damaged the sidewalk, as you saw in that other picture. Next slide, please. Each consultant team was assigned a third of the city to review, as I said, and most have completed their priorities 1 through 3. Some sections are a little bit further along. And so far, the data has confirmed the assumption that the older areas of the city are going to have a higher percentage of sidewalk and ramps that are out of repair. This doesn't mean that all of these sidewalks need to be replaced, but it gives the city the information to understand what the inventory of the conditions are of the sidewalk system. This map is actually on the KCMO website, and it shows all of the data points collected to date. So you can actually go into that map, zoom in all the way to your house, and look at what information has been recorded. And just so you know, some of the data sets don't quite match up, and that happens when you have so many coordinate systems. So you might have a data point that's in your front yard, but not over the sidewalk. In reality, the city knows that on the sidewalk, and in the other mapping, it lines up. So don't be concerned about that, but this map is part of our public information program. So I'll let Therese talk about that in a little more detail now.
Thanks, John. As I mentioned before, we have had a lot of community engagement. We've had a lot of meetings. Uday and Maggie have been to a lot. Our last public meetings were in 2019, but in between there have been meetings and phone calls and emails. And so what I wanted to share with you is just a snapshot or an overview of some of the feedback that we've heard. What you'll notice on screen, if you're able to see this screen, is that there are a lot of questions. And so on the next slide, you'll be able to see some of the questions that were asked. Early on, there were questions about what the goal is. Like, are we talking about continuous repair of all neighborhood sidewalks, or are we talking about spot repair? I think Uday and John have covered that. At the time when we started our engagement, people were seeing a lot of spot repair work happening in the city, and were inquiring how this project overall related to that. There's also comments about the tree trimming and removal, and you see now that we're looking at a pilot program that relates in response to that. People are also wondering about, what do you do if you don't have sidewalks right now? We have the Go Bond project, and that's what we're talking about now. That's how the funding is happening. People can still apply for PIAC, and you can call Uday and he'll help you get into the current program, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there are still like a lot of questions that people had. And one of those had to do with getting information out about what's available really early. The city does have their sidewalks webpage, and I think we'll put that in the chat if it's not in there already. So you can always click that. And a lot of the exhibits that John showed you and Uday showed you are also online now. We've covered so far how long the inspections are going to take. And basically from that, you all know this is going to take a long time to work through our sidewalks and build new and do the repair. People were also asking about interactive reporting and updates, and when was that going to be available? Again, we have our website now, and so you can track our progress and see what's happening in your neighborhood. And as I'm saying that about your neighborhood, also, if you are here today and you represent a neighborhood association or a particular organization, go ahead and let us know who you represent. Put that in the chat so that we know. We know there's some people from Rock Hill here today, but there could be many others. Let us know by using the chat. Some of the other things that people were wanting to know about the project or about this program is, what are we going to do when the bonds run out? Because this is such a massive, massive need that we have in terms of sidewalks. Something that's also really important to people as we talked to them not in the last year, but over time and even right now, is how do we address priority, and then how do we address equity? There's different levels of equity and different measurements for equity. Some of you are probably familiar with the LifeX framework. LifeX it has to do with the parts of Kansas City that have lower life expectancy and lower health outcomes. And so there are efforts right now from a Parks and Recreation standpoint to try to improve that. But looking at LifeX as a framework could also be a measure of equity. But priority equity, how long this is going to take, all of that factors into how we plan comprehensively for sidewalks. And so Uday will go into the next part and talk about that.
Thanks, Therese. So right now, whatever you heard is what we have done so far and what we plan to do. But when we went in since 2019 and any interaction, one of the main questions people ask is, how can I get involved? How can my voice be heard at this point so that my sidewalks, the ones in front of my house, neighborhood can be involved?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Kind of working.
Go ahead and mute if you're not muted and you're listening to the meeting. Just go ahead and mute. If you're on the phone, click *6, and then we'll continue the presentation.
So we looked at all the comments, with some of which highlights which Travis pointed out. We went back to our management, our Director Shaw, our Director Jason, and we went to council. We talked about these are the issues we have. We need to address them. So the solution out of this was to come up with a comprehensive plan. Once we finish our backlog, which is the 311s reported between 2008 and 2016, we want to start the program, the sidewalk program, which basically focuses on connectivity. It's just not going to be one block. It may be several blocks. It can go from one council district to another, but the whole point is connectivity. And there are several factors which we want to consider at this point. Inspection priority, the one which John showed us, and condition score, those are considered, but they would be probably a less weightage. The major factors would be, as I said, connectivity, which is your shortest path analysis, equity. Our city is so big, it's around 350 square miles. Each council district has different needs. Like council district 5 and 6, in 5, you will have a lot of gaps in sidewalks. In 6, you have a lot of out of repair sidewalks. When you go to 1, you don't have lot of sidewalks. So different council districts have different needs. So we want to consider all of them in addition to equity throughout the city. And then this is the key factor, I would say, community engagement. So we want people to come to us and say, these are your issues, these are the concerns, and we need all those inputs. This analysis will drive the next 10 to 15 years of sidewalks. So for that reason itself, we are going to have 2 meetings in each council district, one virtual, one in person over the next few months. Maybe it will start in May. We will, as you have been notified, you will be notified that these meetings will happen. Though it is dedicated to one council district, you are free to join any council district, but give us your inputs. We definitely want to hear your inputs and take all these factors into consideration and come up with a construction priority. We will present this list as a 1, 5, and 10-year plan to the City Council, and we'll also evaluate some of the construction evaluation. Like some projects we can just go shovel ready. Some projects may be complicated. We may need to do detailed design. So those are the factors which we'll consider, and we'll come up with a final list of projects. So if you have attended this whole meeting, there is one key takeaway I would like you to know. Make sure you attend one of these 12 meetings, which will happen between April this year and next year, and provide your feedback. Once you have provided your feedback, your concerns and issues, we will definitely take into consideration.
Excuse me, what kind of concerns and issues do you want specifically? Do you want pictures of the sidewalks that are in disrepair and the curbs that are in disrepair? What do you really want us to bring to that meeting?
A great question. So as a simple example, let's say there is a school and I can't remember on top of maybe Boone Elementary on 89th Street. There are no sidewalks around the school. So we need children to walk safely to the school. So that's something I would definitely bring it up. And to address your question, let's say you have a community, and in your community, the sidewalks are really in bad repair. Photos, pictures, the limits, where is the issue, or your neighborhood, whole neighborhood, those kind of details will be very helpful. So whatever you bring us, we will take it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So our next step is go and work on the comprehensive sidewalk plan, and we'll have 12 meetings throughout the city. So the next 1 year we'll be focusing on that to come up with a plan. As I said, please make sure you bring your concerns, and we will definitely look into those. We will still continue to finish our backlog between now and 2025, and we have to finish our inspections. We are in priority 4 on inspection priority, and then we still have priority 5 that needs to be done. So we'll continue that program as is. So I'll take a step back and then I'll move to a different topic, which is Vision Zero. So in our city right now, we have in the last 10 years, in the last decade, we had 42% increase in fatalities of traffic fatalities, which is a huge number when you look at there are a lot of loss of life and so on and so forth. So the city, our council has come up with a resolution to reduce and eliminate fatalities by 2030. It's a humongous task, and for that, we were advised to look into crash data to identify high injury network, identify the intersections, and do some rapid implementations for certain projects. The goal is to reduce speeds, some distracted driving, and also engage residents. And equity is the forefront of all this. So we have broken down the Vision Zero program into 2. One is a 1-year plan, which is a rapid implementation project.
Okay. All right.
And then the other one is a 5-year plan, which we are still working on. So the 1-year plan focuses on low cost, high impact projects. And these include 4 of them. One is traffic calming. If there is a traffic calming project like speed humps or raised intersections, those kind of stuff, you should receive a mailer if you are affected by the traffic calming project. And then we have the intersection improvements. We have identified around 7 to 8 intersections that have high crash rates, and we are working towards them. Anyone who's living on the corridor of these intersections will receive a mailer. There is also public open house 2 weeks from today, and you can feel free to join that as well. And then we are going to improve signal at 50 locations, just adding pedestrian phasing so that people can walk when there is an all stop sign. And finally, we are also going to work with having protected bike lanes. Vision Zero includes every kind of transportation, multimodal, bikes, pedestrians, and vehicle traffic. So we are trying to cover all of these. This is my contact information. You can email me or you can call me, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to address at this point.
Yude, do you want to, let's look at the chat. There were some questions in the chat
Okay.
already. So I'm going to start from the top and go down.
Sure.
All right, the first one is from Holly. She's asking about the median household income criteria on our priorities slide. You might want to go back to that. But she's asking, does that mean richer neighborhoods get more priority points when you're thinking about or looking at median household income as one of those criteria or factors?
I can't get the video.
Holly, I don't exactly remember the threshold values, but I'm taking as I think above $70,000 was like 3 points, less 70 to 40 is like 5 points, and then less than 40,000 is like 8 points. So something like that was figured out, and I can email you later if you can drop your email the specific details about what was the breakdown on the income.
So Yude, does that mean the lower priority, less income, more points?
Correct, that is right.
Excuse me, would you repeat that? The lower priority is lesser income?
It's the other way around. If you are in the lower income, then you have higher points. So you are higher priority.
Does that correlate with how many people walk on those sidewalks or how the sidewalks are used?
Not really. So again, I want to specify one quick thing. This priority which you looked at is only for inspections. The one which we are going to use construction will look into where people are actually walking.
Okay. And how are you going to accommodate that?
You mean
How are you
walk?
going to do that? The
Yeah,
walking profiles of the
yeah.
neighborhood.
Great point. So what we are doing is in the comprehensive plan, the consultant which we hired, they are going to look at cell phone pings, and when people are walking, based on the ping time, you can differentiate whether it is walking, someone is walking, biking, or riding a vehicle. So that's how they are going to determine the walkability throughout the city where people are actually walking. And they are going to calibrate with 20 different locations within the city. And that's how we would know where people are actually walking.
The cell phone ping, does that mean that the people that are walking have to be using their cell phones?
Yep. And yeah,
Well,
that
that's
is
not
right.
very safe for the walkers
The well,
to be
that was
walking and using their cell phones at the same time. I may bring my cell phone with me or not, but I sure don't talk and walk at the same time.
Yeah, let me put it this way. You brought it a great point, and I want to clarify that. You don't have to use your cell phone. As long as you carry your cell phone, you are good to go. That's what I mean.
Okay, so I need to tell my neighborhood association members that whenever they go for a walk, they have to be sure to take their cell phone with them so that they can be pinged by KCMO.gov so that we can get our sidewalks repaired. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say yes. Means if people are carrying their cell phones while they are walking, again, I can't say what exact percentages people would carry and not carry, but that is proven to be the best way to capture where people are walking. So that's the solution that was brought up by
And
the.
when is the capture going to be starting so that I can make sure that everybody in our neighborhood association knows that they need to be sure to carry their cell phone with them?
The evaluation would start from April, I would say. So April to end of summer, or actually
Okay,
fall,
to
end of
end of
fall. So
summer,
maybe up to November timeframe.
to November to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a great
I
question.
can let them know.
Actually,
And suppose we have regular walkers in our neighborhood. Are they going to be pinged once, twice, every time they walk, or how's that pinging going to take place? Is just once per, if I go for a walk, just one time, or if I go for 10 walks, is it going to be 10 times?
I think they are going to do an average. I don't know the specific details, but as far as I know, they are going to do an average. So even if you do it once, it will be recorded. So you are good to go. But I can confirm with you that specific question at a later time.
Could you put that on the website also so that we'll know how
Sure.
that's going to take place?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Here is another question. This one is from Victoria. She says, so communities in the very southern part of KC that have never had sidewalks are not even in the plan as far as she can tell. I think maybe Victoria, were you probably looking at that map that John was showing that had the inspection locations that have been completed so far?
Yes, and I actually also, I'm in a weird situation because I live on a street that is considered a residential street by Kansas City, Missouri. Okay, but it's not a residential street. It is the direct line of traffic from Grandview into Martin City, and the cars fly up and down the road all the time. We don't even have curbs and much less sidewalks, and people have to jump into the weeds and the ditches and stuff to get if they try to walk on our street. So I've been very interested into whether Kansas City was ever going to claim us. We don't have streetlights either. So, we're kind of like just treated like, I don't know. But yeah, so that's why I was wondering, is there any plans to, on areas like mine? And like I said, I know that my particular street is a little unusual because the other streets around the area, they probably don't have the same complaints we do. But I've got semi trucks, dump trucks, laser tow truck runs up and down this thing at 70 miles an hour all the time. It's not safe to walk in my neighborhood. And, and I don't see any plans out here for anybody putting a sidewalk out here or any way in which to even get them to look at it. I tried. I got told to go in and fill out some form that I was supposed to go out and do the engineering survey, apparently, by my city councilman. So I gave up. So when this came up, I decided I'd jump on and see if there's any way we can have a meet and look at it.
Thanks for bringing the concerns. Your question has multiple folds, so I'll try to answer and hopefully it helps. So the first one is there are a couple of options we have. If you are looking for immediately new sidewalks, there are a couple of options you have. One is a Rebuild KC grant, and Travis, you can put it in the chat. The deadline is March 22nd. It is a new grant which is available for all residents in Kansas City. And you can request for sidewalks or streets or whatever in your neighborhood as needed. So it's going to be a competitive process. And if you need estimates, please feel free to reach out to me. I can provide you an engineer's estimate of how much it's going to cost for new sidewalks or for repairs. So I'll be happy to help. Again, the deadline is 22nd, so you may have to get that information, and you need 3 support letters for it. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is PIAC. It is Public Infrastructure Advisory Committee. I think you were referring to that earlier. Every year, each council district has around $4 million to do improvements in our right-of-way, like sidewalks, street lights, curbs, gutters, street, drainage, parks. And people can apply for that PIAC. The application deadline is August 31st. There are 2 meetings after your August 31st deadline where you can go and present it to the council, and then they review it and approve the project. If it is approved, then we start working on it.
And I'm sorry, you guys expect an individual resident owner to do all this. I don't have a neighborhood association. My council person told me to fill out the form. And now you're basically telling me the same thing. So I just have to basically accept the fact that until somebody gets killed out here, if they haven't already, Kansas City isn't going to even look at it. That's basically what I'm hearing from you, which is what we get told for years. Have no sewers, no sidewalks, no street lights, but I'm expected to pay the same kind of personal property tax and real estate taxes as everybody else in Kansas City. And I'm on a thoroughfare that's treated as a residential street. And this is the kind of reaction I always get from Kansas City when I try and bring these things up. And yes, I am an advocate, but I am not going to be going out and attending all this stuff to try and get Kansas City to do their job. It's, thank you for the information, though. I'm very frustrated with the fact that I keep getting told that it's my responsibility to get the city to come out here and even look at this nightmare that has been created because Grandview and Kansas City can't communicate with each other. And Grandview's created a truck route on a street that Kansas City considers a residential street. That should be handled by Kansas City, not by the individuals living out here. I don't have the resources to do with the kind of stuff you guys are talking about. So, and I appreciate you listening, and I won't tie up any more time because I'm sure other people have got questions they want to bring up.
I'll add
My city council person is definitely going to have a fight to keep his job after the response I got from him.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm going to add a little more details. Again, I can personally come and look at the sidewalks. People reach out to me every day, so I can come and look at the sidewalks, and even I can fill the form for you if
I don't have any sidewalks. We do not have sidewalks. There are no sidewalks. You're looking at weeds and trees.
Yeah, if we have to put something new, you still need something to be estimated. So I can come personally and look at those and try to see if we can provide an estimate and do that. The other thing is, let's say you don't want to do all that. I understand. So this comprehensive plan will look at everything. Like if they are missing sidewalks, there are no sidewalks, we are going to look at it. But it will be a longer process because this won't start until 2025. But we are going to start planning that between now and next year. And to specifically address regarding the street lights, I can provide you contact information within our department. They will be probably happy to help you to, like me, they would be happy to come and look at it and maybe provide some solutions or information.
Victoria, I put Uday's email address in the chat. Could you grab that out, maybe click that, and then you can email him what your address is and how to contact you.
Yeah, and the last point, Victoria, you mentioned about, seems like there's a lot of trucking and traffic calming that needs to be happen. So we have an online
blacktop with semis running up and down it, and people can't get out of the street. I mean, so we can't even walk to our neighbor's house. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it wasn't like this. My family's been here for years until Grandview created it as a truck route out of Grandview. And Kansas City did nothing to accommodate that additional traffic. And it's gotten worse year after year after year.
Yeah, one of the initiatives I just talked about, the Vision Zero one, it focuses on reducing, like calming the traffic. So I would think, based on your description, that would fall under a good category. If you can again reach out to me, provide me some details, I'll try to put that in our analysis, and then in the next year plan, if it meets the criteria, maybe something will be done at least on reducing the speeds and traffic calming.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Victoria. After Victoria, there was a comment from Mike in the chat. He says that he's interested in what construction lessons have been learned, so we can improve efficiency, reduce cost per mile, longevity of surfaces, and so on.
Great question, but I would like to ask which specific ones you are looking at on longevity, so that I can address your question accurately.
Mike, do you want to unmute if you're muted?
Yeah, what I'm talking about is we see curbs and sidewalks get repaired or rebuilt or built new, and then they fall apart before too long. So I'm just curious, are we learning some new construction techniques? Are we using some new materials? Are we taking advantage of all the engineering knowledge that we have in this city so that we get more value per mile? The surfaces last longer, the trees don't destroy them, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're learning some lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, a great question again. Trees, we learned the hard way that we shouldn't be using a specific type of tree species like the gumball trees. We shouldn't be using it between the sidewalks and the curbs. So our Parks and Recreation Department, they identified the trees which are suitable in those parkways. And moving forward, we are going to use those trees in the parkway. On material wise, our standards always keep updating our standards. The latest one is like 2015, I believe, where I think we are reducing the use of fly ash, and in some communities that had an effect. Maybe I can remember, maybe it's West Point neighborhood, where the curbs are like maybe 15 years old, and you see the curbs are deteriorated, like they are destroyed completely. So contractor, we have updated our standards to make sure construction practices are followed. Previously, in some of the cases, we never had a base for the sidewalks. We have the base now. We pour 4 inches of concrete that should last at least 45 to 50 years, provided there are no external forces. So in a summary, yes, we are looking at the things which we have done incorrectly, or maybe there are things which we have to do better. And that's what we are trying to do. And one of the pilot programs was part of it. working with UMKC, and then they providing us some inputs on what kind of materials can be used is one of the things which we are working on.
Okay, here is another question or comment. This is from Peggy. She asks, is the addition of a sidewalk on the south side of Gregory Boulevard between Troost and Paseo in either the sidewalk construction plan or Vision Zero? She says pedestrians walk in the roadway due to the lack of sidewalks. Neighbors who ride the bus at 85th and Paseo are interested in a lighted crosswalk. Who should they contact?
If you can follow up with an email, or you can put your email, I'll follow up with you. I don't know the exact details, but anything which is under construction for sidewalks, it's on the website. But if you can just send me an email or put your email address, I'll follow up with you on this particular question.
Will do. Thank you.
There's another question. You guys can always put questions in the chat. Any of you that are in the meeting can put questions in the chat. You can also raise your hand if that's easier for you, and then unmute. But I'm going to keep going through. This is another question from Holly. She says many streets south of 79th don't have curbs or sidewalks, so it's more of a comment. And Anitra is asking, so the options for repairing sidewalks are through PIAC 311 or this program. How do you determine which program to contact?
There is one more option, which I just said, the Rebuild KC grant. Again, I would take all avenues if I want sidewalks to be repaired or replaced. And if I remember correctly, Ms. Denitra Pouncil, you are from the View High Drive neighborhood, and we have been working on sidewalks in your neighborhood right now.
Yes, and you guys have, and I thank you for that. And I was going to say one thing to Victoria. I hear her frustration, but we established our neighborhood association just for this purpose. And I know it's frustrating that we have to do this as Kansas City residents, but that is the only way that we have been able to get so much done in our neighborhood. We have plans to submit things for the Rebuild KC, because the one thing about the PIAC program, although every year we submit something, that's what we've learned, that if we submit something every year, we have a better chance of getting things done. But I'll submit for Rebuild KC because my understanding is that that program would actually be funded this year, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So I think that's the benefit of that one. Whereas PIAC program, I'm not sure if everybody on here knows, but that's a long process. You submit it one year, it's approved the next year, and it's not implemented until the following year. So essentially, it's a 3-year plan in order to get that done. And that's why I was asking you about the other programs about 311. Seems like I've called 311 before, and they always refer us back to PIAC.
Yeah, you pointed out very rightly. So my first option would be Rebuild KC. PIAC, I have been personally working to reduce the time frame of PIAC implementations. It was like 4 years. Now we are trying to get it done between 2 and 3 years. Hopefully we'll get it done in 2 years. But I would take every avenue which I have. I personally also applied for PIAC for my neighborhood, so I follow the process as well. But Denitra, you can speak on behalf of the neighborhood. When we are there, we try to fix everything what is right and use all the dollars what we need to.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, because you definitely worked with us this year to make sure, or I guess it was last year now, to make sure that all of the sidewalks we could get, that we were funded for, that we actually got them replaced. And it makes a big difference in our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we still have time in our meeting in case anyone has any questions. I didn't see anything new in the chat, but Mike has a comment, and it says status of sidewalk replacement on Red Bridge between Holmes and Warnell. There's debris from deconstruction of sidewalks on this project, and it's now been there for 2 years. So what to do about that, Uday. Someone to
Just
call.
email me. I'll look into it. If I Holmes and Warner, I'm trying to recollect. Yeah, if you can email me or just put your email address, I'll follow up with you in the next couple of days and we'll take care of it.
Mike, just so it's fresh, I'll pop Uday's email into the chat box so you can just see it. It's the latest thing in the chat. So you can email him. I don't see any more hands up. I don't see any new things in the chat. If you're on the phone today, go ahead and you'll have to unmute with *6 so you can ask your question if you have a question or a comment. And you can tell from the chat that there are people here from West Waldo neighborhood and from Condor Place Homes Association. South Plaza Neighborhood Association is here. Southtown Council is here. Brookside Business Association, Troost Avenue District affiliates are here. Verona Hills Homes Association is here. Timber Trace Homeowners Association, Bike Walk KC, Buhai Drive North Neighborhood Association, Walnut Grove Marlboro Neighborhood is here tonight. And Royal Oaks here and Rock Hill Gardens neighborhood.
And so I have one more question or point of concern. I know we talked about the Rebuild KC, and I do like the program because it's going to be funded this year. But one thing that's intimidating about the form is that it asks you to put an estimate in.
Sure.
I have no idea. You know, I know I want these projects, but I have no idea what they cost. So I just make up some numbers.
No, if you can email me, I can provide you the estimates. I've been doing it for like so many people right now.
Okay.
Yeah. All I need the limits, where to and where from. If you just give me that limits, it will be quicker for me to identify and provide you the cost estimates.
Okay, then I'll send you to that. I'll send that to you this week then.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Christina. I just want to let you know Hickman Mills United Neighborhoods is also representing on the call.
Thank you. We've got Hickman Mills. Record that for the notes. There's something else in the chat. Okay, here's another comment from Amy. She says, we have very few sidewalks in West Waldo. We're getting a sidewalk from Washington to Summit on 79th. Would it be possible to connect a sidewalk to Sunnyside Park on Summit? This would make walking safer for neighbors.
Yeah, Amy, if you could just email me the details, I can look into it and get back. I don't remember on top of my head every sidewalk project right now. So yeah, please feel free to email me or drop your email address. I'll reach out to you.
And Holly is asking, can you do estimates for curbs?
Sure. Sidewalks, curbs, driveway approaches, I can provide you the estimates. If they are missing, they don't exist also, that's fine. As long as I have the limits, I can provide you those estimates.
I have another question. Some of the streets in our neighborhood have been designated as private streets, and others are public streets. Will Kansas City differentiate between those in terms of sidewalk repair or placement and or curb repair or replacement?
Actually, yes. Anything which is identified as private street, the city doesn't own the right of way or property. So we wouldn't be doing any improvements. Usually we don't do any improvements on that private street. Either it is sidewalks, pavement, or street lights, whatever you're looking at. Having said that, in the past, the city has adopted some of the private street into public streets. There is a different process for it, and I can help you reach out to the right person.
Okay, thank you very much.
Richard Hernandez has his hands up. Richard, do you want to go ahead and unmute, ask your question or make your comment?
Yes, hello? Can
We
you hear
hear
me?
you. Yes.
Okay, my name is Richard Hernandez. I'm president of the West Side Neighborhood Association. And sometime back, I think it was last year, I had measured all our streets, took pictures, even sent some figures. I've been in construction my whole life, so I know about what it costs to for sidewalk repairs and replacement. And I actually gave them to Brian Platt, and he assured me that I didn't need to do all that, that they will take care of our streets and our sidewalks. But I think I may still have copies of that. But we need that work done over, and I was promised that they would take care of that. And I put 2 in for Pyack, but Pyack, you have to be near a church or a school, or can't be just it can't be just in a neighborhood with people trying to get through. You have to be by something like that, which is kind of silly to me. But I put 2 of them in and have not heard anything about them. I got your name. I'll look up your email tomorrow. We'll get together or talk more, but I did all that, and I expect some type of response.
I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. I need to look at the specifics to at least address your questions if it is in the future plan or there's something going on.
Okay, I'll talk to you. I should have had a response by now, but I haven't. Thank you.
Can we put Uday's email back in the chat? So it's a new item in there for you to be able to grab out. Are there any more questions? Richard, your hand is still up, so I'm going to lower it, assuming you don't have any more questions. If you do, let us know. But I don't see any more hands. And we have 1 minute to go. You all could be free in 1 minute if you want.
Well, I appreciate the efforts that you all are taking to get some input from the neighborhoods. It makes a difference to hear that Kansas City is trying to listen to the people that pay the taxes and try to keep their neighborhoods up and want their neighborhoods to look nice, to keep our property values up. And I appreciate the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See,
Sherry.
there's one more question. Sean has a question. What program do you recommend for blocks that only need ADA ramps? Sean, you can just email me those ADA corners and they will be added in the ADA program.
There's one more comment from Jeannie. Oh, go ahead. I think someone has to be muted, I think. PIAC's a long process and many applicants and not enough funding. Thank you all for your input. I'll take this back to the Neighborhood Association on Sunday, and that was from Jeannie from SPNA. And with that, it's 7 o'clock. Uday, do you have any closing remarks?
I really appreciate your time this evening. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. We just started. There's a long way we need to go, and we definitely need your inputs. We'll be waiting for your inputs and comments. It may take long, but we hope to address all those. If you have any questions or concerns, I would say please reach out to me. You have my email address and phone call. I'm usually within 48 hours. I usually respond if I'm in the office. So I'm looking forward to hear more from you. Appreciate your time and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank
you as well.
Yes, thank you.